Welcome to Books Arena, where powerful ideas meet everyday life. In today's video, we explore a question that's both timeless and deeply personal. What's the secret to a long, meaningful, and happy life? For centuries, the people of Okinawa, Japan, especially in the village of Ojimi, have lived longer, healthier, and more joyfully than almost anywhere else in the world. But how? In their book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life, authors Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles travel to Okinawa to find out, and what they discover goes far beyond diet or exercise. It's about purpose. It's about balance. It's about finding your Ikigai, your reason for being. And the best part? You don't have to move to Japan or radically change your life to experience it. You just need to understand a few simple truths and start applying them, one small step at a time. In this video, we'll break down the core lessons of Ikigai. What it really means. How to find your own. And how it can help you live not just longer, but better. Ready to begin? Let's dive in. Part 1, What is Ikigai? The philosophy of purpose. Let's begin with a single word that holds centuries of wisdom, Ikigai. In Japanese, Iki means life, and Gai means value or worth. Together, Ikigai translates to a reason for being. It's the thing that gets you out of bed each morning with a sense of purpose, energy, and meaning. But unlike some Western ideas of purpose, Ikigai isn't necessarily a big mission or life-changing dream. It can be small, ordinary, quiet. In fact, in places like Okinawa, people often discover their Ikigai not in what they want to achieve, but in what they already do, whether it's tending a garden, cooking for family, or sharing stories with friends. This book, Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles, explores how this ancient idea helps explain why the people of Okinawa live longer, healthier, and happier lives than almost anyone else in the world. It's about more than just living a long time. It's about living well. The 4 pillars of Ikigai. One of the most popular ways to understand Ikigai is through a simple diagram. Imagine 4 overlapping circles. What you love. What you're good at. What the world needs. What you can be paid for. Where all 4 meet, that's your Ikigai. This framework is useful, but it's important to note that many Okinawan elders who live by Ikigai have never seen this diagram. Their understanding of purpose is rooted in daily life, not strategy or structure. Their Ikigai comes from living with attention, doing what matters, and staying connected to others. For example, someone's Ikigai might be running a small cafe where they greet neighbors every morning. For another, it could be fishing, writing poems, or caring for grandchildren. The point is, Ikigai isn't always about achieving something great. It's about feeling that what you do, no matter how simple, matters. What Ikigai is not. Ikigai is often misunderstood in the West. We tend to link purpose to productivity. We ask questions like, how can I monetize this, or how can I turn this into a career? But Ikigai doesn't demand that everything be profitable. In fact, some of the richest sources of Ikigai are things you'll never get paid for, like being a good friend, volunteering, or creating something just because you love doing it. Ikigai is not a race to the top. It's not hustle culture. It's not about sacrificing today for some imagined success tomorrow. It's about being connected to what you do, right now. Lessons from the village of longevity. The authors of Ikigai traveled to Ojimi, a small village in Okinawa known for having one of the highest life expectancies in the world. People here routinely live into their 90s and beyond, not just surviving, but thriving. They move daily, stay socially active, and find joy in simple routines. Many have no plans to retire. Why? Because they love what they do. Their work, their hobbies, their community, these give them a sense of identity and belonging. That's their Ikigai. One woman in her 90s still weaves by hand every morning. A fisherman in his 80s wakes up early, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Another man said his purpose was to grow vegetables and share them. None of these people said their goal was to be wealthy or famous. They simply found meaning in daily actions and kept doing them. Everyone has an Ikigai. The authors emphasize one essential truth: everyone has an Ikigai. But not everyone has found it yet. The problem is, many of us are too busy, distracted, or stressed to notice what truly matters to us. We're so focused on being productive or meeting expectations that we ignore what gives us real joy. Finding your ikigai doesn't require a major life change. It begins with awareness. Start by paying attention to what energizes you, what makes you feel useful, connected, or peaceful. Often, the clues are already around you. Maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's helping others, solving problems, or creating something beautiful. Maybe it's spending time in nature or building something with your hands. Whatever it is, ikigai often starts small and grows through consistency. The takeaway: ikigai isn't about chasing happiness. It's about living with purpose. It's the quiet joy of doing something that matters to you and, in some way, matters to others. In the next part, we'll explore how lifestyle plays into all of this and what the Okinawan way of eating, moving, and connecting can teach us about lasting well-being. But for now, remember this. You don't need to find your ikigai in a big achievement. You can find it in a simple, intentional life. Let's continue. Part 2, The Secrets of Longevity. In Part 1, we explored the idea of ikigai, your reason for being. Now, let's go deeper into what ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life, reveals about the lifestyle habits that support longevity, especially in the Okinawan village of Ojimi. These aren't miracle cures or strict regimens. The secret to long life, as it turns out, lies in small choices repeated every day with consistency and care. So what do the world's longest living people do differently? Let's break it down. A gentle but active life. One of the first things the authors noticed in Okinawa was how naturally active the elders were. They weren't running marathons or lifting weights. But they were constantly moving. Walking, gardening, kneeling, climbing stairs, stretching, cooking, cleaning, working with their hands. Movement was a part of life, not something separated into a gym schedule. And this kind of low-intensity, sustained activity has massive long-term benefits. In the West, we often think of fitness as high-intensity workouts, but in Ojimi, motion is slow, natural, and frequent. It keeps joints flexible, prevents illness, and boosts mood. One man over 100 years old still rode his bicycle every morning. Others maintained farms, cleaned their homes, or joined group exercises. They don't sit for long, and they rarely retire in the traditional sense. As one elder put it, retiring means to stop being useful, and that's when you begin to decline. The lesson? Keep moving, but don't force it. Make it part of your rhythm, not a chore. Eating light and living long. Another core habit: how and what they eat. The Okinawan diet is largely plant-based, filled with vegetables, tofu, miso, sweet potatoes, and seaweed. Meat is eaten occasionally, fish more often. Portions are small. Food is fresh. But the real secret is in a cultural phrase, harahaki bu. It means eat until you are 80% full. Rather than stuffing themselves, they stop when they're satisfied, not stuffed. This small shift leads to fewer digestive issues, lower risk of chronic illness, and better energy throughout the day. In the West, we tend to eat until the plate is empty. In Okinawa, it's more about honoring the body and giving it just enough. Plus, meals are often enjoyed slowly, with others. Eating becomes social, mindful, and grateful, not rushed or distracted. Connection and community. Another factor behind the Okinawan lifestyle is the strength of their social bonds. People in Ojimi rarely live alone. Families stay close, and friends gather regularly. Elders are respected, not sidelined. Everyone has a role. The authors highlight a tradition called the moa, a small group of friends who meet regularly to talk, laugh, and support each other emotionally and even financially. This kind of connection creates a powerful sense of belonging. It lowers stress. It keeps people mentally engaged. And it's one of the strongest predictors of health and happiness, especially later in life. In contrast, many people in modern societies suffer from chronic loneliness, even when surrounded by others. Okinawan culture reminds us, we're not meant to walk through life alone. Living with purpose and calm. What ties all these habits together is a mindset, a sense of calm, focus, and presence. The elders of Ojimi don't rush. They don't multitask. They do one thing at a time, and they do it with care. Whether cooking a meal or trimming bonsai trees, they approach daily life with intention. This kind of mindfulness doesn't just improve emotional well-being, it keeps the brain sharp, reduces anxiety, and makes daily life feel more meaningful. Combined with their strong sense of ikigai, this approach helps them wake up with direction, Go through the day with purpose, and sleep with peace. The bigger picture. Longevity, as shown in Ikigai, isn't the result of any single habit. It's not just about food or exercise or stress. It's the combination of how they live, think, move, eat, and connect. There are no shortcuts, but the changes are simple. Eat until you're almost full. Move every day, gently. Connect with others deeply. Take time to do what matters. And most of all, find a reason to get up each morning. It's not magic. It's a life designed for balance. In the next part, we'll explore how you can begin to discover your own Ikigai even if you don't live in Japan, and even if you feel lost right now. Ikigai isn't just a theory. It's something you can live one small step at a time. Let's move forward. Part 3, Discovering Your Ikigai. By now, you understand what Ikigai means and how it shapes the lives of the world's longest living people. But the real question is, how do you find your own Ikigai? It's easy to hear about purpose and passion and feel overwhelmed, especially if you're not sure what excites you or where you're going. But according to Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life, discovering your Ikigai is not about making dramatic changes overnight. Instead, it's a process. A quiet one. And it starts by paying attention. Let's explore how to begin. Step 1, look inward before you look outward. In the search for purpose, we often look outward. We ask, what does the world expect from me? What job will earn the most respect? What's the most practical choice? But Ikigai begins by turning inward. Start with simple questions. What do I enjoy doing so much that I lose track of time? What small task gives me a sense of satisfaction or peace? When do I feel most connected to others or to myself? These aren't theoretical questions. They're invitations to observe your daily life. The things you naturally return to. The activities that make you feel alive, even in small ways. It could be writing, teaching, building, solving problems, listening to others, organizing chaos, tending plants. Ikigai often hides in the small and ordinary, not the grand and impressive. Step 2, explore the 4 circles. You may recall the 4-circle diagram often used to describe Ikigai. While it's not part of traditional Japanese culture, it's a useful tool. What you love. What you're good at. What the world needs. What you can be paid for. Where all 4 overlap is considered the sweet spot, your Ikigai. But don't treat this like a quiz you have to complete in one sitting. Instead, use it as a lens to explore your interests over time. Maybe you're good at design and love storytelling. That could evolve into branding or user experience work. Or perhaps you love helping others and are a great listener. Your Ikigai might be in coaching or mental health support. But here's the key, you don't have to figure it out all at once. Your Ikigai will likely evolve as you do. Step 3, follow flow. One powerful clue to finding your Ikigai is noticing when you experience flow. Flow is a concept introduced by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It describes that feeling of being completely immersed in a task so focused that time disappears. When you're in flow, you're not distracted. You're not bored. You're just doing. Ask yourself, when do I feel most absorbed in what I'm doing? What activities give me both a challenge and a sense of ease? What tasks leave me feeling energized afterward? Flow is often a sign that your skills and interests are aligned. And wherever flow exists, Ikigai is usually close by. Step 4, start small. You don't need to quit your job, move to a new city, or find your true calling in order to live with Ikigai. In fact, many people in Okinawa live modest lives. Their purpose comes from doing simple things with care day after day. So start small. Do more of what brings you joy. Reduce what drains you. If you enjoy cooking, cook more. If you love helping, volunteer. If you miss creating, create again. You can explore your Ikigai in the early mornings, in your lunch breaks, on weekends. Purpose is something you build, not something you stumble upon. And often, the most meaningful paths begin quietly without fanfare or big announcements. Step 5, keep going. Finally, remember this, discovering your Ikigai is not a destination. It's not a title. It's not a finish line. It's a practice. Just like the people of Okinawa don't retire from their passions, your Ikigai is something you continue to nurture. It changes. It deepens. Sometimes it even shifts direction. And that's okay. What matters is staying engaged. Remaining curious. Choosing to live each day with a little more awareness and a little more intention. As the authors remind us, our ikigai is different for all of us, but one thing we have in common is that we are all searching for meaning. So don't wait for clarity to arrive all at once. Instead, take the next step, however small, and trust that you're already on the path. In part 4, we'll bring it all together. We'll look at how to build a life that sustains your ikigai mentally, emotionally, and practically. Let's continue. Part 4, Living Your Ikigai Daily. We've talked about what ikigai is. We've looked at how it shapes the long, healthy lives of people in Okinawa. And we've explored ways to begin discovering it for yourself. Now comes the real challenge. How do you live your ikigai every day? Not just as an idea or a distant goal, but as something that shapes how you wake up, how you work, how you connect, and how you move through the world. This final part is about sustaining your ikigai quietly and consistently no matter what life throws your way. Start your day with purpose. One habit the authors observed in people with strong ikigai is this: they don't rush into the day. They begin with intention. This doesn't mean you need an elaborate morning routine. It means taking a few minutes to center yourself before the world gets loud. Some elders in Okinawa begin their day with light stretching. Others with tea. Some tend to their garden. Some write or pray. The act itself doesn't matter. What matters is that you start the day for yourself, not for your phone, your job, or your inbox. Even something as simple as asking yourself, what small thing today can I do with love or attention, can make a difference. Ikigai lives in the details. Work with joy, not just pressure. In modern life, many people feel overworked, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their jobs. And while not everyone has the freedom to choose exactly how they make a living, the message of ikigai is this: you can bring purpose into your work even if it's not your dream job. In Okinawa, elders who weave, fish, cook, or farm do so with care and pride. The task itself becomes meaningful, because they bring themselves fully into it. So whether you're working in an office, teaching, managing people, or studying, ask yourself, how can I bring more presence to what I do? What part of this job aligns with something I care about? Is there one small way I can make this more human, more joyful? Ikigai is not only about what you do but how you do it. Nurture relationships that matter. A central theme of this book is that connection keeps us alive not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. In Ojimi, elders are surrounded by people they've known for decades. They check in on each other, share meals, laugh together, and lean on each other in hard times. It's not about having hundreds of friends. It's about having a few people you truly trust. People you can be yourself around. In your own life, think about who makes you feel more like yourself. Who challenges you to grow? Who listens? Who makes time? Prioritize those people. Show up for them. And let them show up for you. Because when you share your ikigai, your interests, your stories, your care, it expands. It becomes a gift. Protect your mental and emotional energy. Another overlooked part of ikigai is emotional health. Many people today live in a constant state of low-grade anxiety, rushing, comparing, second-guessing. The Okinawan elders interviewed in the book, by contrast, had a sense of peace. They weren't obsessed with achievements or productivity. They didn't define themselves by status. They moved at their own pace. They accepted what came. They stayed grounded in the present. This doesn't mean they didn't feel pain or loss. But they had practices that helped them cope: connection, routine, gratitude, and simplicity. So ask yourself, what am I giving too much of my energy to? Where can I simplify? How can I reconnect with what truly matters? Sometimes living your ikigai means letting go of old expectations, distractions, or constant noise. Stay curious and keep growing. Finally, ikigai teaches that growth doesn't end when you find your purpose. In fact, real purpose requires curiosity. The elders of Ojimi are still learning. Still reading. Still crafting. Still exploring new ideas and conversations. Some take up new hobbies in their 80s or 90s. They're proof that staying mentally active, staying engaged keeps you not just alive, but awake. So keep learning. Keep wondering. Keep asking what brings you joy. Your ikigai isn't fixed. It's something you carry with you and shape through the seasons of your life. Final thoughts. In the end, Ikigai isn't about a grand life plan. It's about how you live the next hour. It's in how you greet your day, how you treat others, how you do your work, how you care for your mind and body, and how you keep choosing day by day to live with meaning, even in the smallest things. You don't have to change your life to start living with Ikigai. You just have to begin where you are. We've reached the end of our journey through Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles. Let's take a moment to reflect. This wasn't just a book about purpose. It was a quiet invitation to live more intentionally. To slow down. To reconnect with your work, your passions, your community, your body, and most of all, yourself. The people of Okinawa, especially in the village of Ojimi, have shown us that a meaningful life isn't built on wealth, fame, or constant productivity. It's built on a sense of purpose that comes from within. Deep relationships and daily connection. Gentle movement and mindful eating. Curiosity that never fades. A mindset rooted in gratitude, not stress. Their secret isn't really a secret, it's a way of life. And you don't need to move across the world or change everything overnight to start living it. You can begin with one question. What gives my life meaning today? That question is your compass. And your answers, however simple, are where your Ikigai lives. Whether you're just starting to explore your passions or returning to something that once lit you up, remember. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to build a life that fits you, not just one that looks impressive from the outside. Ikigai is not a destination. It's how you walk the path. So, take that first step. Find what moves you, even quietly. And start living your life with a little more purpose, today. Thank you for watching this video from Books Arena. If this breakdown of Ikigai gave you something to think about or something to feel, consider sharing it with someone who might need the same. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more thoughtful dives into books that inspire, challenge, and empower. Until next time. Keep reading. Keep reflecting. And keep moving toward your own Ikigai. Welcome to Books Arena, the place where we break down powerful books in a simple, spoken style. In today's video, we're exploring a book that will change how you see your own mind. It's called The Idiot Brain, written by neuroscientist Dean Burnett. Now, don't be offended by the title. This book isn't calling you an idiot. It's actually about how all of our brains are flawed, biased, emotional, and often completely illogical. You might think your brain is a supercomputer. But the truth is, it's more like a messy, emotional roommate who forgets things, panics for no reason, overreacts, and often lies to you, without even realizing it. From forgetting names, to feeling anxious for no reason, to misremembering facts, this book shows how your brain works and how it often fails you, not because it's broken, but because it evolved to protect you, not to be perfect. It's funny. It's science-backed. And more importantly, it helps you understand why you do what you do even when it doesn't make sense. By the end of this video, you'll not only laugh at how weird your brain is, you'll learn how to work with it instead of always fighting it. So, let's begin our journey inside the world's most powerful and most ridiculous machine. The human brain. Part 1, Why the brain isn't designed to be rational. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you came in? Or had a conversation where you were sure you were right until you weren't? You're not alone. And no, you're not broken. This is just how the brain works. And it's the first major point in The Idiot Brain. Your brain isn't built to be logical. It's built to survive. Let's take a step back. The human brain is incredibly complex. It's made up of billions of neurons and trillions of connections. It can solve puzzles, write poetry, and launch rockets. But that same brain also falls for optical illusions, makes irrational choices, and panics over things that aren't real. Why? Because evolution didn't design your brain to make perfect decisions. It designed your brain to keep you alive. Back when our ancestors lived in forests and faced wild animals, the brain had to make fast decisions, not perfect ones. If something rustled in the bushes, your brain didn't ask for evidence. It just screamed, "Run." And that might have saved your life. That's why we have emotional shortcuts built into the brain. These are also called cognitive biases. For example, you remember emotionally charged events more vividly, even if they're inaccurate. You overestimate danger. You trust your gut feelings, even when they're wrong. Let's look at real-life situations where this shows up. Imagine you get a message from your boss that just says, "Can we talk?" Immediately, your brain might jump to conclusions. Did I mess up? Am I in trouble? What if I'm being fired? Even though there's no evidence, your brain fills in the blanks and often with negative thoughts. That's because it's wired to expect the worst, not to stay calm and logical. Another example, let's talk about risk. People often fear flying more than driving. But statistically, flying is much safer. Still, the brain says, you're not in control. You're in a metal box in the sky. Panic. That's the brain choosing emotion over fact. It feels more dangerous, so your brain treats it as more dangerous. This disconnect between logic and emotion shows up in small ways too. You forget where you put your phone, but you remember a song from 10 years ago. You ignore long-term consequences and choose short-term pleasure. You feel insulted by someone's tone even if they didn't mean anything by it. Here's the truth, your brain is not a perfectly organized machine. It's more like an old building that's been renovated again and again. Some parts are fast and modern. Others are outdated and clunky. The front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, helps you plan, think logically, and make decisions. But it's constantly being interrupted by the older, emotional parts like the amygdala. So even when you want to stay calm, your brain might send out alarm bells. Dean Burnett compares this to having an overenthusiastic bodyguard living in your head. The bodyguard wants to protect you, but sometimes it punches people who mean no harm. So what can you do? You can't rewire your brain overnight. But you can understand it better. And that's where this book and this video becomes useful. Once you realize that your brain isn't designed to be rational, you can stop expecting it to be perfect. You can start catching your brain in the act. Next time you jump to conclusions or panic unnecessarily, take a breath and ask, is this a real danger, or just my brain trying to protect me? Do I have evidence, or am I filling in the blanks? Is this a fact, or a feeling? The more you practice this, the more power you have over your own mind. Because understanding your brain doesn't make it perfect. But it helps you make better choices, even when your brain is acting like, well, an idiot. Part 2, Memory, Myths and Misfires, approximate 800 words. Let's play a quick game. Think back to your first day of school. Can you picture what you wore? Who you talked to? How accurate do you think that memory is? Chances are it's not very accurate at all. And that's what this part of the idiot brain is all about. Your memory is not a recording device. It's messy. It's emotional. And often, it lies. You might think your brain works like a hard drive storing facts and moments like files. But according to neuroscience, your memory is more like a storyteller. It mixes facts with feelings, guesses with gaps, and it rewrites old stories based on how you feel today. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine you once had a job interview that didn't go well. At the time, it just felt awkward. But years later, when you think about it again, your brain might exaggerate how bad it was. You might think, I was sweating, stuttering, the interviewer looked disappointed. Even if that wasn't true at all. Why does this happen? Because every time you remember something, your brain reconstructs the memory. And every time it reconstructs it, it might slightly change the details. It's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. Eventually, the original gets blurrier. This is why eyewitnesses in court often give conflicting stories. They're not lying, their brains just filled in the blanks with whatever made the most sense emotionally. Memory is also tied deeply to emotion. That's why you remember the embarrassing moment from school, but not what you had for breakfast yesterday. Or why a certain smell instantly reminds you of your grandmother's kitchen. Emotion makes memories stick, but it doesn't make them accurate. Now let's bust a popular myth. People often say, I have a photographic memory. But science shows that's extremely rare, and even those who have it are still prone to memory errors. Most of us just have regular human memory full of gaps, assumptions, and biases. Let's look at another everyday situation. You meet someone new. They tell you their name. 2 seconds later, gone. You already forgot it. You might think you have a bad memory. But the truth is, you never really stored the name in the first place. Your attention was elsewhere, maybe on what you were going to say next, or how you looked, or just social anxiety. This brings us to a key idea. Memory depends on attention. If you don't pay attention to something when it happens, your brain doesn't save it properly. It's like trying to download a file without internet, it won't work. That's why multitasking is terrible for memory. If you're trying to listen to a podcast, reply to messages, and scroll Instagram all at once, don't expect to remember much. Dean Burnett also explains that your brain naturally prioritizes meaning over detail. So instead of remembering every word someone said, your brain stores the overall feeling: she was upset, or he was excited. It's efficient, but not always reliable. So how can you improve memory? The good news is, while you can't make it perfect, you can make it better. Here are some science-backed tips. Repetition with spacing. Don't try to cram. Instead, review information a few times over a week. This is called spaced repetition, and it's far more effective. Attach meaning. If something seems boring, connect it to something meaningful. Need to remember someone named Rose? Imagine them holding a rose. The sillier the image, the better it sticks. Use all your senses. Read out loud. Write things down. Create visuals. The more ways you experience something, the deeper your brain stores it. Sleep. Yes, sleep. Your brain actually processes and stores memories while you sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, your memory will suffer. Be present. When you meet someone new or learn something important, pause. Focus fully for a moment. Let the brain do its job. Now here's a fun example from the book. Imagine you're at a party. Someone tells you a joke. You laugh. A few weeks later, you tell that joke to someone else, but you're convinced you made it up. That's called source confusion. Your brain remembers the information, but forgets where it came from. It happens all the time in conversations, in arguments, even in relationships. So the next time you think, I clearly remember this, pause and ask yourself, do I remember it, or do I just believe it strongly? Because memory feels real even when it's not. Dean Burnett makes it clear, your brain is doing its best with limited resources. It's trying to help you function, not be perfect. So don't beat yourself up for forgetting small things or mixing up details. Instead, be kind to your brain. And give it the right tools to succeed. Part 3, Anxiety and Fear, Why We Panic. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever felt nervous walking into a room full of people? Or found yourself wide awake at night worrying about something that might not even happen? That's anxiety. And in The Idiot Brain, Dean Burnett explains it this way. Your brain is trying to protect you, but it often goes too far. To really understand anxiety, we have to go back in time to when our ancestors were living in caves and every day was a survival test. Back then, being overly cautious could literally save your life. If you assumed a rustle in the bushes was a lion and ran, you lived to tell the story. If you ignored the warning signs, you were eaten. The brain learned to react fast. Not always right, but fast. And that instinct still lives inside you today. That part of your brain is called the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure that's responsible for fear, threat detection, and emotional response. Think of it as your brain's alarm system. But here's the problem, the amygdala hasn't updated to modern life. It still sees threats everywhere even when there's no real danger. Let's say you're about to give a presentation. Your heart starts racing. Your palms get sweaty. Your stomach flips. The amygdala thinks, danger. Run. But you're not in danger. You're just nervous. Still, your body reacts like you're being chased by a bear. This is the fight or flight response, and it's built into all of us. Now imagine this happening not once, but over and over before meetings, social events, exams, phone calls, or even texts. That's anxiety, your brain reacting to imaginary threats with real fear. Burnett explains this beautifully. He says, anxiety is like a smoke detector that goes off every time you make toast. And let's be honest, it's exhausting. But it gets worse when we don't understand it. We start to fear the fear itself. We worry about worrying. We feel anxious about looking anxious. And suddenly, we're trapped in a loop. Here's a real-world example. Imagine you're walking into a party. You don't know many people. You start thinking, what if I say something awkward? What if no one likes me? What if I look stupid? Now your brain is full of what ifs. Your heart races, you sweat, and you think, I'm anxious, something must be wrong. But nothing's wrong. You're just dealing with a brain that overreacts to social situations, because again it evolved to care about how others see you. In tribal times, being rejected by your group could mean death. Today, it just means a slightly awkward chat. Now let's break down the common types of anxiety, and how the idiot brain explains them. 1. Social anxiety. This is one of the most common forms. It's the fear of being judged, embarrassed, or excluded. Your brain goes into hyperdrive, scanning for signs that people dislike you. You might replay conversations in your head, overanalyze how you said something, or avoid social events altogether. Why? Because your brain is trying to protect you from shame even when there's no real threat. 2. Generalized anxiety. This is that vague, uneasy feeling like something is wrong, even if you can't name it. You might constantly worry about the future, your health, your job, your relationships even when things are going fine. The brain doesn't like uncertainty. So it fills the gaps with worry. It would rather imagine a problem than sit in silence. 3. Panic attacks. These are intense waves of fear that seem to come out of nowhere. Your heart races, you can't breathe, you feel dizzy and your brain screams, something is very wrong. But often, there's no danger at all. Your brain simply misinterpreted a signal like a racing heart or fast breathing and turned it into a full-blown emergency. Now here's the scary part, your brain can learn this pattern. If you've had a panic attack in the grocery store, your brain might start panicking every time you go there just in case. Burnett describes this as the brain being helpful in the worst way possible. So, what can you do about it? Here's the good news, once you understand how anxiety works, you can start to manage it. Your goal isn't to eliminate anxiety completely. That's not realistic. It's a built-in system. But you can turn down the volume. Here are some practical strategies. 1. Name it. When you feel anxious, say to yourself, "This is anxiety. My brain is reacting, but I'm safe." Just labeling the feeling helps your rational brain take back control. 2. Breathe deeply. When you're anxious, your breath becomes shallow. By breathing slowly and deeply, you send a signal to your brain. We're okay. Calm down. Try this, inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Repeat. 3. Challenge the thought. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? How likely is that, really? Have I survived something like this before? Most of the time, the answers will calm you down. 4. Expose yourself gradually. Avoidance fuels anxiety. The more you avoid something, the scarier it gets. Start small. Talk to one new person. Do one small task that makes you nervous. Teach your brain that discomfort doesn't equal danger. 5. Get sleep and eat well. Anxious brains get worse with poor sleep and low blood sugar. Take care of your body and your mind will follow. 6. Talk about it. You are not weak for feeling anxious. You are human. Talk to a friend, a family member, or a professional. Even just saying it out loud reduces the power it has over you. Final thought. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to keep you safe, but it's using an outdated manual. Anxiety isn't weakness. It's your brain doing its job, a little too well. And once you understand that, you can start to respond, not just react. You can say, "Thanks, brain. I see what you're doing. But I've got this." Part 4, Sleep, Dreams, and Brain Maintenance. Let's be honest, sleep is weird. Every night, you lose consciousness for hours, lie still in the dark, and have strange, often ridiculous dreams. Then you wake up, and hopefully feel better. Why do we need sleep? Why do we dream of flying, falling, or showing up to school with no clothes? And what's really going on in your brain during all this? In The Idiot Brain, Dean Burnett breaks it down in the simplest way possible. Sleep is not laziness. It's maintenance. It's your brain cleaning up the mess it made during the day. Let's start with this, your brain is always working even when you're sleeping. You might think sleep is just about resting. But inside your head, there's a lot going on. Think of it like this. When you're awake, your brain is like a busy kitchen during lunch hour, orders coming in, dishes piling up, and chefs running around. But sleep? That's when the kitchen closes, the cleaners come in, the mess gets sorted, and things get ready for the next day. Now here's what actually happens when you fall asleep. 1. Your brain starts organizing memories. It sorts through everything you saw, heard, and felt during the day. It decides what to keep, what to throw out, and where to file it. That's why sleep is crucial for learning. If you study before bed, your brain has a better chance of storing that info. Real life example, you spend all evening practicing a new skill like playing guitar chords. You go to sleep. The next morning, you're better at it. You didn't practice overnight, but your brain did. This is the power of memory consolidation, and it mostly happens during deep sleep. 2. Your brain takes out the trash. Seriously. During sleep, the brain activates a system called the glymphatic system, which clears away waste and toxins that build up during the day. One of these toxins is linked to Alzheimer's disease. So getting enough sleep isn't just about energy, it's about long-term brain health. Dean Burnett puts it this way: sleep is like taking your brain to the car wash. 3. You dream a lot. Let's talk dreams. Why do they happen? Why are they so random, emotional, or just plain strange? Scientists still don't fully agree, but here are some of the best theories. Theory 1. Dreams are emotional processing. Your brain plays out scenarios, often exaggerated, to help you deal with feelings. That's why you might dream about failing an exam, falling off a cliff, or being chased even if those things never happen in real life. It's your brain rehearsing danger like a flight simulator for your emotions. Theory 2. Dreams are memory cleanup. As the brain organizes memories, it might accidentally replay fragments of thoughts, images, and emotions, kind of like your brain's recycle bin opening up. That's why dreams often feel like a mashup of everything you recently experienced. You might see your old school, your dog, a recent movie all mixed together in a bizarre storyline. Theory 3. Dreams are just noise. Some scientists think dreams are the result of random brain activity that your brain tries to turn into a story. Because your brain hates randomness, it always wants things to make sense. So even if there's no real message in a dream, your brain will invent one. Now here's the interesting part. Sleep has different stages, and they all serve a purpose. The two big ones are: 1. Deep sleep, non-REM. This is when your body repairs itself. Your immune system works. Your brain organizes memories. It's like the slow, silent cleaning crew. 2. REM sleep, rapid eye movement. This is where most dreaming happens. Your brain becomes highly active. Ironically, during REM sleep, your body becomes paralyzed to prevent you from acting out your dreams. Fun fact, most people have 4 to 6 REM cycles per night, and each dream can last 5 to 30 minutes. So yes, you dream a lot. You just don't always remember. So, what happens if you don't sleep enough? That's where things get messy. Dean Burnett is clear: sleep deprivation breaks your brain. Let's look at what suffers when you're running on 4 hours of sleep. Focus drops, you struggle to pay attention, even to simple things. Memory fails, you forget names, details, tasks. Emotions explode, small things make you angry or sad. Judgment weakens, you make poor decisions, take unnecessary risks. Creativity dies, your ideas feel flat or forced. Reaction time slows, worse than driving drunk in some cases. And here's the scary part. You don't notice it. Sleep-deprived people often say, "I'm fine." But tests show they perform terribly and they don't even realize. It's like being drunk, but without the self-awareness. Real-life example. You're studying for an exam, so you stay up till 3 a.m. You think you're gaining time, but really, your brain is too foggy to retain anything. You would have done better with 2 hours less study and 2 hours more sleep. Burnett jokes that pulling an all-nighter to learn something is like trying to fill a leaking bucket. Tips for better sleep, according to science. If you want your brain to function well, you have to give it rest. Here are some simple sleep habits that work. Stick to a schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time, even on weekends. Cut off screens before bed. Blue light from phones messes with your melatonin, the sleep hormone. Create a wind-down routine. Read, stretch, listen to soft music. Teach your brain it's time to relax. Keep your room dark, quiet, and cool. Your brain sleeps better when it feels safe and undisturbed. Avoid caffeine late in the day. It can stay in your system for hours and delay your sleep. Final thought. Sleep isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Dreams aren't nonsense. their brain work. And your nightly rest is one of the best things you can do for your mental, emotional, and physical health. Dean Burnett sums it up beautifully. Your brain is like a phone, powerful, impressive, but useless without regular charging. So treat sleep like fuel, not failure. Turn off the noise, respect the rest, and let your brain do what it does best when the lights go out. Part 5, Emotions, Logic, and Why We Make Irrational Decisions, approximate 1000 words. Let's start with a simple question. Have you ever made a decision you instantly regretted? Maybe you bought something expensive on impulse. Or snapped at someone in anger and later thought, why did I do that? Well, guess what? You're not broken. You're just working with a normal human brain, a brain that is far more emotional than logical. In The Idiot Brain, Dean Burnett explains one core truth. Your brain isn't built for perfect logic. It's built to help you survive, connect with others, and make quick decisions, sometimes at the cost of accuracy. Let's unpack this. 1. Emotions are not enemies, they're essential. Many people think logic is good and emotion is bad. But in reality, you need both. Your emotional brain, mostly centered around the limbic system, helps you understand what matters. It tells you what to care about, what to fear, what to fight for. Your logical brain, mainly the prefrontal cortex, helps you plan, solve problems, and think about the future. They're like a rider and a horse. Logic is the rider, it guides and plans. Emotion is the horse, it gives energy and direction. You can't move without the horse. But without the rider, the horse runs wild. Real life example. You get an email that sounds rude. You instantly feel angry. You start typing a fiery reply. But if you pause for even a few seconds, your logic kicks in. Wait, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. This moment where emotion and logic battle happens every day in your brain. 2. Why smart people still make dumb decisions. Dean Burnett shares a powerful insight. Being smart doesn't protect you from bad decisions. In fact, smart people sometimes make worse ones because they think they're too smart to be wrong. This is called cognitive bias, mental shortcuts your brain takes without realizing it. There are dozens of biases, but here are a few you'll recognize. A. Confirmation bias. You believe something and you only look for information that supports it. Example, you think a certain diet is the best. So you Google why this diet is best instead of does this diet have problems. Your brain wants to be right more than it wants to be smart. B. Availability bias. If something is easy to remember, your brain assumes it's common or true. Example, you hear about a plane crash on the news, so you feel flying is dangerous even though it's safer than driving. Why? Because emotionally charged stories stick in your brain more than statistics. C. Anchoring. You get influenced by the first number or detail you hear. Example, a jacket is marked 5,000 Indian rupees, but it's on sale for 2,000 Indian rupees. You feel like you're saving 3,000 Indian rupees even if you never would have paid full price anyway. The first number anchored your brain. 3. Your brain hates uncertainty. Imagine this. You're waiting for test results. You don't know whether it's good or bad. What does your brain do? It fills in the blanks. It imagines the worst case scenario. Your heart races. You can't focus. You feel sick. This happens because the brain evolved to fear the unknown. In the wild, uncertainty often meant danger. So today, even small unknowns, a delay in a reply, a weird tone in a message can trigger anxiety and overthinking. Your brain would rather imagine a problem than sit quietly with doubt. 4. The power of emotion in decision making. Now here's something surprising. People who lose emotional function in their brain due to injury or illness often can't make decisions at all. They can think logically. They understand the pros and cons. But they get stuck. Why? Because emotion provides urgency. It tells you which option matters more. Without it, every choice feels equal, like picking a cereal brand with no preference at all. Emotion is what makes decisions personal. Real life example. You're choosing between two jobs. One pays more. The other gives you more time with family. Your logical brain lists the facts. But your emotional brain says, I want to be there for my kids. And that's what makes the decision clear. So next time you feel torn, remember, emotion gives meaning to logic. 5. The illusion of control. Another reason we make strange choices is the illusion of control. Your brain loves to feel in control even when it's not. That's why people avoid flying but are okay with driving. Even though flying is statistically safer, you feel more in control behind the wheel. Or why people prefer choosing their lottery numbers even though it makes zero difference. The brain equates choice with safety even when it's an illusion. This also explains superstitions. We knock on wood, avoid black cats, or wear a lucky shirt all because it gives us a sense of influence over the unknown. Is it logical? No. But it's emotionally comforting. And for the brain, comfort often beats logic. 6. Emotion hijacks logic in real time. Here's something everyone has felt. You're arguing with someone. They say something that hits a nerve. Suddenly, logic shuts down. You say things you don't mean. You raise your voice. You walk away angry. Later, you regret it. Why? Because emotions activate faster than logic. Your amygdala, the emotional center, reacts in milliseconds. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinker, takes longer to respond. By the time logic shows up, emotion has already taken the wheel. This is called an amygdala hijack. And it's totally normal. So what can you do? Here are some brain smart strategies to manage irrational decisions. Pause before reacting. Even 10 seconds of deep breathing can prevent an emotional overreaction. Name the emotion. Saying "I feel anxious" or "I feel angry" helps activate logic. Question your thoughts. Ask, is this true? Is there another explanation? What would I tell a friend in this situation? Sleep on big decisions. Your brain processes emotions overnight and your judgment improves with rest. Talk it out. Sharing your thoughts with someone objective can break the bias loop. Final thought. You are not a robot. Your brain is emotional, reactive, and often illogical, and that's okay. What matters is awareness. When you know your brain's tricks, you don't fall for them so easily. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or irrational, remember. It's not you. It's your brain being, well, a bit of an idiot. And now, you know how to respond. Part 6, the social brain, popularity, rejection, and why we care so much. Let's start with this. Why does it bother us so much when someone ignores our message? Why do we care what strangers think of our social media posts? Why do some people fear public speaking more than death? The answer lies deep inside your brain in what scientists call the social brain. Dean Burnett explains this part beautifully in The Idiot Brain. Your brain is wired to care what other people think. It might feel silly, even frustrating at times. But this instinct is ancient and it once kept us alive. Let's break it down. 1. Your brain thinks rejection equals death. Thousands of years ago, humans didn't survive alone. We lived in tribes. In groups. In small communities where acceptance meant safety, and rejection meant danger. If you were cast out from the group, you couldn't hunt, you couldn't stay warm, you were easy prey for predators. So your brain evolved to treat social rejection as a serious threat. Even today, when someone unfollows you or excludes you from a group, your brain sends out pain signals. The same regions that process physical pain light up during social pain. Yes, being left out hurts just like being punched. At least to the brain. 2. Popularity equals power, at least, that's what the brain thinks. In modern times, popularity seems superficial. It's easy to roll your eyes at influencers, likes, or viral trends. But the brain still sees popularity as status, and status used to equal survival. The more allies you had, the better protected you were. The more admired you were, the more resources you got. So your brain naturally craves approval. Think about it. Why do we get that little dopamine hit when someone likes our post? Why do we smile when we're praised, and shrink when we're mocked? Because social approval feels like safety. Disapproval feels like threat. It's not vanity. It's biology. 3. The fear of embarrassment. Now let's talk about one of the most common and strange fears, embarrassment. Why does the thought of saying something wrong in public terrify us? Why do we avoid asking questions in class, even when we're confused? Because your brain is constantly scanning for signs of social judgment. This is what psychologists call the spotlight effect, the feeling that everyone is watching you, judging you, noticing your mistakes. In reality, most people are too busy thinking about themselves to notice your awkward moment. But your brain? It's convinced the whole room is focused on your tiny error. Real life example. You trip in public. You feel like the world just saw you fall. You turn red, feel embarrassed, want to disappear. But 5 minutes later, everyone around you forgets and you're still thinking about it. That's the social brain at work exaggerating the threat of judgment. 4. Why we mirror people. Have you ever noticed how people start to talk like their friends? Or pick up each other's gestures? That's called social mirroring, and it's something your brain does automatically. When you spend time with someone, your brain subtly copies their speech, posture, and habits. It's a way of saying, hey, we're on the same team. This builds trust and increases your chance of being accepted. It's the same reason we laugh with others more than alone, or why emotions are contagious. Your social brain is constantly trying to sync up with others. 5. Group thinking, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Humans are tribal creatures. We want to belong. But sometimes, that need to fit in can override logic. This is called groupthink when people go along with the group to avoid conflict, even if the group is wrong. Example. You're in a meeting. Everyone agrees with a bad idea. You see the flaw, but say nothing because you don't want to be the odd one out. That's not cowardice, that's your social survival brain kicking in. In some cases, it's harmless. But in extreme situations, it leads to bad decisions, harmful behavior, or even violence. Burnett emphasizes that the social brain isn't always smart. It's just built to protect our place in the group. 6. Why rejection feels so personal. Here's something you've probably felt. You text someone. They don't reply. Even though you know they might be busy, your brain spirals. Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me? Do they hate me? This is called rejection sensitivity, and it's super common. Your brain can't easily tell the difference between silence and social threat, so it assumes the worst to prepare you emotionally. Even small things like being left out of a group chat, or not being invited can trigger real emotional pain. And if you've had past experiences with exclusion, your brain gets even more alert. 7. Social anxiety and the brain. Social anxiety isn't just shyness. It's the intense fear that people are watching, judging, or rejecting you. According to Burnett, this fear comes from overactive social threat systems in the brain, especially in areas like the amygdala and insula. People with social anxiety often have strong memories of past embarrassment, and their brains replay these over and over, making them overly cautious in new situations. The solution isn't just relax. It's understanding your brain is trying to protect you but going too far. Tools like therapy, mindfulness, and small exposure can help retrain the social brain to respond more calmly. 8. Why social connection heals. Now for the good news. Just as rejection hurts, connection heals. When you feel understood, accepted, or included, your brain releases oxytocin, a chemical that builds trust and soothes stress. Hugs, eye contact, and deep conversations all send signals of safety to the brain. Even helping others makes your brain feel good. That's why acts of kindness, volunteering, or just listening to a friend reduce anxiety and increase happiness. You're not meant to go through life alone, and your brain knows it. Final thought. Your social brain is ancient. It evolved to keep you safe in small groups, where survival depended on approval and acceptance. Today, it still acts like you're living in a tribe, watching for rejection, scanning for judgment, reacting to silence like danger. That's why we overthink, fear embarrassment, and crave connection even in a digital world. But once you understand how your brain works, you can work with it, not against it. So next time your mind spirals over a message left unread, or a moment of awkwardness, take a breath. Remind yourself. It's just your social brain trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. And that's perfectly human. Let's wrap up everything we've explored today from The Idiot Brain by Dean Burnett, a fascinating, funny, and incredibly honest look at how the human brain really works. This isn't a book about perfection. It's a book about understanding, about seeing your brain not as a flawless machine, but as a brilliant, glitchy, and emotional survival tool that's doing its best every day. Here's what we learned. First, the brain isn't designed for accuracy. It's designed for survival. So when you forget something, overthink, or freeze up in front of people, that's not failure. That's the brain protecting you from imagined threats, just like it did thousands of years ago. Second, memory is a storyteller. Every time you remember something, your brain edits it based on how you feel, what you expect, or what you believe. It fills in gaps and smooths over uncertainty. That means your memories feel true, even when they're not fully accurate. Third, anxiety, fear, and irrational thoughts aren't flaws. They're part of your survival system. They kept your ancestors alive, and while they may overreact today, they come from a place of protection. Once you recognize that, you can stop fighting them and start working with them. Fourth, emotion and logic are not opposites. They work best together. Emotion gives meaning to your choices. Logic gives them structure. A wise brain balances both. Fifth, social rejection hurts for a reason. We evolved to live in groups, to care about approval, and to avoid being cast out. That's why even small social slights feel big. But knowing that it's your brain reacting to ancient patterns helps you manage it with more awareness and calm. And finally, you are not broken. You are not strange for forgetting things, reacting emotionally, or worrying too much. You have an incredibly complex brain that's just doing what it was built to do. The more you understand how your brain works, the more control you gain over your emotions, decisions, and mindset. If this summary helped you see your brain a little more clearly, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Books Arena. We break down the world's best books into clear, calm, spoken summaries to help you grow your thinking, your habits, and your life. Let us know in the comments. Which part of your brain surprised you the most today? And what book should we explore next? Thanks for watching, and remember, be kind to your mind. It's doing a lot more than you realize. Welcome to Books Arena. Today, we begin an exciting journey with one of the most famous and practical books ever written on communication and relationships, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book is a timeless guide to improving your social skills, building genuine connections, and influencing others positively without manipulation. It has helped millions of people around the world, from business leaders to students, to improve their personal and professional lives. Dale Carnegie shows us that success is not just about what we know or what we can do, but about how we treat others and how well we understand their feelings and desires. In the chapters ahead, you will learn simple but powerful principles that can transform the way you interact with people. Whether you want to make new friends, become a better leader, or simply create stronger relationships, this book offers practical advice you can apply every day. Get ready to discover the secrets of effective communication, sincere appreciation, and winning people's trust. Let us begin this journey into the art of human relations with Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Part 1. Success in life is often shaped by how well you relate to other people. Dale Carnegie begins his book by highlighting a simple but deep truth: people want to feel important and appreciated. This desire is fundamental to human nature. When someone criticizes us or makes us feel small, it hurts deeply, and most of us respond by withdrawing, defending ourselves, or even reacting with anger. Think for a moment about the last time someone criticized you. Maybe it was at work, in school, or even among friends. How did it make you feel? Did it inspire you to change, or did it make you want to avoid that person? Chances are, the criticism did not motivate you the way you expected. Instead, it may have caused frustration or resentment. Carnegie explains that criticizing others seldom achieves the desired effect. It wounds pride, hurts a person's sense of importance, and often makes them defensive. When you criticize, you are essentially saying, "You are wrong, and I am right." This approach makes people feel attacked, and naturally, they resist. He shares an example from history involving Abraham Lincoln, who was famous for his kindness even toward his critics. Instead of responding with harsh words or blame, Lincoln understood that criticism rarely changes hearts. He believed that if people were wrong, they could be gently guided to the right path through kindness and understanding. In real life, this lesson is vital. Whether you are a manager giving feedback, a parent teaching a child, or a friend pointing out a mistake, criticizing can push people away instead of helping them grow. So what can you do instead? Carnegie offers the powerful alternative of giving honest and sincere appreciation. Appreciation is different from flattery. Flattery is fake praise that people see through and dislike. True appreciation is recognizing and valuing the good qualities or efforts in others. Everyone wants to feel important and appreciated. When you acknowledge someone's hard work, kindness, or skill, you are feeding this deep need. For example, imagine a teacher who praises a student's effort, even if the student did not get the highest grade. That praise encourages the student to keep trying and improves confidence. In the workplace, leaders who focus on praising progress and good qualities often have teams that work harder and are more loyal. Simple words like "I appreciate your dedication" or "You did a great job on that project" can build bridges and strengthen relationships. But appreciation must be sincere. People can tell when praise is fake or exaggerated. That destroys trust. Carnegie warns against insincere flattery, which is worse than no praise at all. Instead, find something real to appreciate, no matter how small. Another important lesson in this part is the power of arousing an eager want in others. You cannot force people to do what you want by telling them they are wrong or ordering them around. Instead, you must understand their desires and appeal to what they want. Carnegie tells the story of a father who wanted his son to clean his room. Instead of commanding, the father said, "Imagine how nice it will be to have a clean room where you can find your toys easily and have more space to play." By showing the boy what he would gain, the father sparked the boy's interest and willingness. This approach works everywhere. When you ask a colleague to help on a project, instead of saying "you must do this," you could say, "If you help with this, it will give you a chance to learn new skills and impress the boss." People respond when they see a benefit for themselves. Carnegie's advice here teaches us to think from the other person's point of view. What do they want? What motivates them? How can your request help them achieve their goals? When you answer these questions, you are more likely to get cooperation and goodwill. Let me share a real-life example. A sales manager once struggled with a team that was not motivated. Instead of pushing harder, the manager sat down and asked each member what their personal goals were. Some wanted more time off, others wanted recognition, and some wanted skill development. By tailoring rewards and responsibilities to these wants, the manager inspired the team to work harder and enjoy their work. To summarize, this part teaches 3 crucial lessons. Do not criticize, condemn, or complain. It usually backfires and damages relationships. Give honest and sincere appreciation. People crave to feel important and valued. Arouse in others an eager want. Appeal to what others desire, not just what you want. When you practice these ideas, you create connections based on respect, kindness, and understanding. People feel good around you because you make them feel good about themselves. This is the foundation of winning friends and influencing people. It is not about manipulation or tricks. It is about genuinely caring for others, understanding their needs, and communicating in a way that respects their feelings. As you go about your day, try this simple exercise. Think about one person you interact with regularly. Notice how you talk to them. Do you criticize or complain? Do you express appreciation for something they did? Could you appeal to their desires if you want to ask a favor? By making small changes in how you treat others, you can build stronger friendships, better teamwork, and more positive influence. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Remember, everyone wants to feel important and appreciated. Make that your starting point. Part 2. In the first part, we learned how powerful it is to avoid criticism and instead offer sincere appreciation. Now, Dale Carnegie takes us deeper into understanding how to genuinely connect with people by showing real interest in them. One of the most important truths in building friendships and influencing others is this: people care deeply about themselves. Their own thoughts, feelings, dreams, and worries are at the center of their world. If you want to build trust and friendship, the key is to focus on what matters most to the other person, their interests and their experiences, not just your own. Carnegie famously said, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." This may sound simple, but it goes against much of how we naturally behave. We often think about what we want to say or what we want from a conversation. But true connection begins when we turn the spotlight onto others. Imagine meeting someone at a party or networking event. If you talk only about yourself or your achievements, the other person might listen politely, but they probably will not feel a strong connection. However, if you ask them genuine questions about their life, listen carefully, and show real curiosity, they will feel valued and respected. This makes a huge difference. Let us consider an example from everyday life. Think about a friend who is going through a difficult time. Maybe they lost a job or are struggling with health issues. If you approach them and say, "Let me tell you about my problems," or "Here is what I think you should do," you risk sounding insensitive or self-centered. But if instead you say, "How are you feeling? What has been most challenging for you?" you invite them to share. Listening with empathy allows them to feel supported and understood. Carnegie teaches that listening is one of the highest forms of respect you can offer someone. Yet, many people fail at this. They listen only to reply or wait for their turn to talk. Genuine listening means putting aside your own thoughts and fully focusing on the other person's words, tone, and body language. This is not always easy. Our minds are often distracted or thinking about what to say next. But practicing active listening builds trust and opens doors for deeper connection. When people feel heard, they open up more, share more, and like you more. Another way to connect with others is by remembering and using people's names. Carnegie called a person's name the sweetest sound in any language. It is a simple yet powerful way to show respect and make someone feel important. Have you noticed how you feel when someone remembers your name? It creates a personal bond instantly. On the other hand, forgetting or mispronouncing a name can create distance or even offense. That is why Carnegie advises making a conscious effort to learn and use names whenever you meet someone. Imagine you are at a business meeting, and the speaker addresses you by name. Suddenly, you feel seen and recognized. It feels warmer and more personal. That small effort can turn a cold interaction into a warm relationship. Carnegie also explains the power of encouraging others to talk about themselves. People love to talk about their experiences, opinions, and feelings. When you ask open-ended questions that invite stories, you give people a chance to express themselves and feel valued. For example, instead of asking "Did you like the movie?" you might ask, "What did you think about the movie?" or "Which part stood out most for you?" These questions show interest and invite deeper conversation. A real-life story Carnegie shares is about Charles Schwab, a famous steel magnate. Schwab was known for his ability to connect with people and get them to do their best. One of his secrets was to get people talking about their own achievements and ideas. This made them feel important and motivated to work harder. In addition to listening and remembering names, Carnegie highlights the importance of making the other person feel genuinely important and doing it sincerely. False flattery is easy to spot and resented, but honest appreciation touches the heart. If you notice something admirable or valuable about a person, tell them. Maybe it is their kindness, their skill, their humor, or the way they handled a difficult situation. Let them know you see and appreciate it. People long for recognition. When you give it freely and sincerely, you create goodwill and friendship. To sum up this part, the key principles are: show genuine interest in others by listening and asking questions. Remember and use people's names, they are central to identity. Encourage others to talk about themselves and their experiences. Make others feel important sincerely and specifically. These ideas are practical and easy to apply but can transform your relationships. When people feel that you care about them as individuals, they will naturally warm up to you and want to cooperate. Try this today. The next time you meet someone, focus entirely on them. Ask about their interests, listen actively, and remember their name. Notice how it changes the energy of the conversation. As you practice these skills, you will find that winning friends is not about being loud or dominant. It is about being genuinely curious, respectful, and kind. These qualities open doors and build bridges in every part of life. Part 3. In the previous parts, we discovered how avoiding criticism, offering sincere appreciation, and showing genuine interest in others can build strong connections. Now, Dale Carnegie focuses on one of the most important principles of influencing people: how to make others like you instantly. At first, this may sound like a trick or a superficial skill. But Carnegie's advice is rooted deeply in understanding human nature and respect. He tells us that the key to making people like us is by being genuinely interested in them and treating them with kindness and warmth. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to create instant rapport is to smile. Yes, a smile. It is something you do naturally when you are happy or pleased. But many people underestimate how contagious and meaningful a genuine smile can be. When you smile at someone, it immediately creates a friendly atmosphere. It signals that you are approachable and kind. Think about the last time someone smiled at you warmly. Did it not make you feel welcomed and comfortable? A smile is a universal language of friendship. Carnegie tells a story of a business executive who was known for his cheerful demeanor. People would say, "I do not know what it is about him, but being around him makes me feel good." That feeling came from his genuine smile and warmth, which attracted people effortlessly. But a smile must be sincere. A forced or fake smile can be noticed easily and can feel insincere or even creepy. Genuine smiles come from kindness and genuine interest in others. Another key principle is to remember and use a person's name. As we learned earlier, a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound. Using someone's name in conversation shows that you value and respect them. Imagine meeting a stranger who greets you with your name and remembers it throughout the conversation. That simple act builds trust and makes the interaction personal and special. On the other hand, forgetting a name or calling someone by the wrong name can create awkwardness or offense. Carnegie emphasizes that remembering names is a skill anyone can develop with practice and effort. When you meet someone new, try repeating their name silently to yourself and associating it with an image or a word. This helps fix it in your memory. Now, let us talk about being a good listener. Carnegie argues that the best way to win friends is to be genuinely interested in what others have to say. People love to talk about themselves, their experiences, and their feelings. When you listen attentively and encourage them to share, you give them a gift. Good listening means more than just waiting for your turn to speak. It means focusing fully on the other person, showing empathy, and responding thoughtfully. Nod, smile, and ask questions that invite deeper sharing. Carnegie shares examples of people who were masters at listening and how it made them popular and influential. One man once said, "If I were to sum up the secret of my success in a word, it would be listening." When people feel heard, they feel respected and valued. Next is the principle of talking in terms of the other person's interests. Imagine you meet someone new and jump straight into talking about your hobbies or opinions without considering theirs. You might lose their attention quickly. But if you find out what they enjoy and steer the conversation toward that, you build instant rapport. For example, if someone loves gardening, asking about their favorite plants or sharing a gardening tip makes them feel understood and appreciated. Carnegie encourages us to be curious about others' passions and interests and use that knowledge to create meaningful conversations. This effort shows that you care about them as individuals, not just as acquaintances. Finally, Carnegie explains the power of making the other person feel important and doing it sincerely. People want to feel needed and appreciated. When you express genuine respect for their qualities or achievements, you build goodwill and friendship. However, it is crucial that this feeling of importance is sincere. Insincere praise or flattery is transparent and can damage relationships. Look for real strengths or positive actions to recognize honestly. For example, if a coworker solved a difficult problem, compliment their skill and effort. If a friend is generous or kind, acknowledge it. These small acknowledgments create warmth and trust. Let me share a story Carnegie includes about a famous conductor. This conductor was known for his ability to bring out the best in his orchestra. He treated every musician with respect and appreciation, making each feel important to the overall performance. This attitude inspired the musicians to give their best, resulting in beautiful music. To summarize, the key ideas in this part are: smile genuinely to create a friendly and welcoming atmosphere. Remember and use people's names to show respect and build connection. Be a good listener by showing real interest in what others say. Talk about what interests the other person to engage them deeply. Make others feel important sincerely and specifically. By practicing these principles, you not only make friends more easily but also build a foundation of trust and warmth that influences people positively. As you continue on your journey to win friends and influence people, remember that these are not tricks but sincere ways of showing respect and kindness. People respond naturally to warmth and genuine interest. Try this today: smile at someone you meet, learn and use their name, and ask about their interests. You might be surprised how these simple acts open doors to new friendships and deeper connections. Part 4. In the previous parts, we explored the importance of sincere appreciation, genuine interest, smiling, listening, and making others feel important. Now, Dale Carnegie introduces a powerful and timeless principle that can change the way you communicate and influence people: how to handle people without making them feel offended or resentful. One of the biggest challenges in relationships, whether personal or professional, is giving feedback or expressing disagreement without damaging trust or hurting feelings. Most people dread criticism and often react with anger or withdrawal. This reaction makes problems worse instead of solving them. Carnegie teaches us that the secret to successful communication is to avoid direct criticism and condemnation. Instead, he suggests approaching situations with tact, kindness, and understanding. Imagine you have a colleague who makes frequent mistakes. If you go to them and say, "You are careless and always mess up," you will likely face resistance or hurt feelings. That approach puts people on the defensive and makes cooperation difficult. But if you start by highlighting something positive about the person or their work, and then gently point out the mistake, you create a more open atmosphere. For example, I really appreciate your hard work on the project. I noticed a few details that might need correction. Let's look at them together. This way, you show respect and avoid blaming. Carnegie emphasizes the power of beginning with praise and honest appreciation when offering criticism. This method softens the blow and makes the other person more receptive. Another important technique is to call attention to mistakes indirectly. Instead of directly accusing someone, you can ask questions that guide them to see the problem themselves. For example, do you think there might be another way to approach this, or what do you think about this part? This approach encourages reflection without confrontation. Carnegie shares a story about a supervisor who needed to correct an employee's behavior. Rather than ordering or blaming, he asked, "How do you feel your last report went?" This question opened a conversation that led the employee to recognize the mistakes and take responsibility. People respond better when they feel respected and trusted. By involving them in the process, you build cooperation instead of conflict. Carnegie also warns against telling people they are wrong outright. Even if you are certain, saying you are wrong can offend pride and make the other person defensive. Instead, try to find common ground or gently suggest alternatives. For example, instead of "you are wrong about this," you might say, "I see your point, but have you considered this perspective?" This shows respect for their opinion and invites dialogue. Another powerful principle is to admit your own mistakes quickly and clearly when you are wrong. This act of humility disarms others and creates goodwill. People respect those who can admit their faults rather than denying or blaming others. Carnegie shares the example of a great leader who, when criticized, responded by saying, "You may be right. I will look into it." This honest admission not only diffused tension but earned admiration. Furthermore, Carnegie suggests beginning conversations in a friendly way. A warm greeting, a smile, or a kind word sets the tone for positive interaction. When people feel welcomed and respected, they are more open to listening and cooperating. Consider how you approach difficult conversations. If you start with anger or frustration, you create barriers. But if you start kindly, even if you need to deliver bad news, you keep the door open. Another effective technique is to get the other person saying yes immediately by focusing on points of agreement. This creates a positive momentum. When people agree early in a conversation, they are more likely to continue agreeing. For example, if you are negotiating, start by highlighting shared goals or values before discussing differences. This approach makes the other person feel heard and respected. Carnegie tells a story of a salesperson who used this principle successfully. Instead of confronting objections, he began by agreeing with the customer's concerns and then gradually guided the conversation toward a solution. Finally, Carnegie teaches the importance of letting the other person do most of the talking. People love to express their ideas and feelings. When you listen more than you speak, you gain insight and build rapport. When you encourage others to talk about themselves and their ideas, you make them feel valued and understood. This strengthens relationships and opens doors for influence. To summarize the key lessons in this part: avoid criticism and condemnation, it breeds resentment. Begin with honest praise before pointing out mistakes. Call attention to errors indirectly through questions. Admit your own mistakes openly and quickly. Start conversations in a friendly and warm way. Get early agreement to build positive momentum. Let others talk more, listen actively and attentively. Applying these principles helps you handle difficult situations with grace and effectiveness. Instead of creating conflict, you build cooperation. Instead of offending, you inspire goodwill. Try reflecting on your recent difficult conversations. How might you approach them differently using these ideas? Small changes in tone and approach can make a big difference. Remember, the goal is not to win arguments but to win people, to influence them positively while preserving their dignity and respect. Part 5. In the previous part, we learned how to handle people without offending them, how to give feedback kindly, admit our own mistakes, and create positive conversations. Now, Dale Carnegie takes us further into influencing others by showing how to genuinely inspire people to change without causing resistance. One of the biggest challenges in leadership and relationships is encouraging others to improve or change behavior. Many people resist change because it feels uncomfortable or threatening. When we tell someone they must change or that they are wrong, they often push back. Carnegie teaches that the best way to motivate change is to appeal to the other person's desires and show respect for their viewpoint. Instead of ordering or demanding, we should gently guide and inspire. A powerful method he shares is to begin by praising the other person's good qualities or achievements before suggesting change. This approach opens hearts and lowers defenses. People want to feel appreciated before they are willing to listen. For example, a teacher who praises a student's effort and then suggests ways to improve will be more effective than one who only points out mistakes. The student feels encouraged, not discouraged. Another key idea is to call attention to mistakes indirectly by asking questions that lead people to see the problem for themselves. For instance, instead of saying, "You are doing this wrong," ask, "Have you thought about trying it this way, or what do you think could improve here?" This invites reflection without blame. Carnegie shares a story about a manager who needed to correct an employee's approach. Instead of criticizing directly, he asked, "How do you think the last report went?" This question allowed the employee to evaluate their own work and decide to improve. People are more open to change when they come to conclusions themselves rather than being told what to do. Another important principle is to talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. When you admit your own faults, you lower the other person's resistance. It shows humility and makes them more willing to listen. Carnegie tells the story of a great leader who would say, "I have made my share of mistakes," before suggesting corrections. This honest approach builds trust and respect. In addition, Carnegie emphasizes the power of asking questions instead of giving direct orders. When you ask, "Could you try this approach, instead of do this," people feel involved and respected. They have ownership of the solution. This method increases cooperation and motivation. He also advises to let the other person save face. Sometimes, people make mistakes or fail. If you want to maintain a good relationship and influence, do not embarrass or shame them. Instead, be tactful and focus on the future. For example, if an employee misses a deadline, instead of saying, "You failed," say, "Let's work together to meet the next deadline." This keeps the person's dignity intact and encourages improvement. Carnegie shares a story about a military leader who was skilled at letting people save face even when correcting them. This approach kept morale high and loyalty strong. Another key to inspiring change is to praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. People crave encouragement. When you recognize progress, no matter how small, it motivates continued effort. For example, if a student improves their handwriting, compliment the improvement even if it is not perfect. This positive reinforcement helps build confidence and habit. Carnegie also stresses the importance of giving others a fine reputation to live up to. When you express confidence in someone's abilities and character, they strive to meet those expectations. For example, telling an employee, "I know you are capable of great work," challenges them to live up to that praise. People want to be seen as good and competent, and when you highlight that, they often rise to the occasion. Finally, he suggests encouraging others by making mistakes seem easy to correct. People fear failure because they think it is permanent or difficult to fix. When you show that errors are normal and can be overcome, they are more willing to try. For instance, saying, "Everyone makes mistakes at first, you will improve with practice," reduces fear and encourages action. To summarize, the key principles in this part are: begin with honest praise before suggesting change. Call attention to mistakes indirectly through questions. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Let others save face and avoid embarrassment. Praise every improvement, no matter how small. Give others a reputation to live up to. Encourage by showing mistakes are easy to correct. Applying these ideas creates a positive environment for growth. Instead of resistance, people feel motivated and respected. Instead of resentment, there is cooperation and goodwill. Try this approach next time you want to suggest change. Start with praise, ask questions, and encourage improvement. Notice how it changes the response you receive. Remember, true influence comes from respect, kindness, and genuine belief in the other person's potential. Part 6. In the previous parts, we have seen how kindness, sincere appreciation, and gentle guidance can help us build strong relationships and encourage positive change. Now, Dale Carnegie turns to a powerful skill that can dramatically improve your ability to influence others: how to genuinely see things from another person's point of view. One of the biggest reasons people fail to connect or influence is because they focus only on their own perspective. We often believe that our own opinions are the right ones and try to convince others to agree. But Carnegie teaches us that true influence comes when we understand and respect the other person's viewpoint even if we disagree. Imagine two people arguing. Each wants to prove they are right and the other is wrong. The conversation becomes heated, and no one listens. This kind of interaction destroys relationships and makes cooperation impossible. Instead, Carnegie advises that you try honestly to see things from the other person's angle. Ask yourself, why does this person feel this way? What are their fears, hopes, or reasons? When you put yourself in their shoes, you gain empathy and insight. This does not mean you have to agree with everything. It means you respect their feelings and try to understand their reasoning. Carnegie shares a story about a diplomat who was able to resolve conflicts because he carefully listened and acknowledged the other side's concerns. This approach opened a door for compromise and peace. Another powerful truth is that people want to feel understood and appreciated for their viewpoint. When you recognize their feelings and ideas, even if you disagree, they are more willing to listen to you. For example, if a friend has a different opinion on politics or religion, instead of arguing or dismissing, try saying, "I see why you feel that way," or "that is an interesting perspective." This kind of response creates respect and keeps the conversation open. Carnegie also emphasizes the importance of showing respect for others' opinions. Never say you're wrong outright. Such words close minds and hearts. Instead, gently express your own views and invite dialogue. For example, "I may see it differently, but I appreciate your point of view," or "that's a good point. Here is another way to look at it." This invites cooperation rather than conflict. Another key to influence is to admit your own mistakes quickly and clearly. As we learned earlier, humility disarms hostility and builds trust. When you say, "I was wrong" or "I made a mistake," people respect your honesty. Carnegie tells a story about a famous scientist who admitted his errors openly, which made others willing to consider his ideas seriously. Being able to admit faults shows strength, not weakness. Carnegie also advises to begin in a friendly way even when dealing with difficult issues. A warm greeting or kind word can soften resistance and prepare the ground for positive interaction. He shares the example of a manager who would start meetings with sincere praise or casual conversation before addressing problems. This approach made employees more receptive and cooperative. Another important technique is to get the other person saying yes early and often. People like to agree. When you find points of agreement at the start, it creates positive momentum. They become more open to your ideas later. For instance, if you want to persuade a colleague, start by agreeing on shared goals or values before discussing differences. This builds a foundation of trust and cooperation. Carnegie explains that this yes ladder technique is used by successful negotiators and salespeople to lead people toward agreement without conflict. Finally, he teaches the power of letting others feel that the idea is theirs. People are more motivated to act on ideas they believe they came up with themselves. If you can guide someone to your conclusion by asking questions and encouraging their thinking, they will embrace the idea wholeheartedly. For example, instead of telling a team member exactly what to do, ask questions like, "What do you think is the best approach?" or "How would you handle this challenge?" This encourages ownership and creativity. To summarize the key principles in this part: see things honestly from the other person's point of view. Show respect for others' opinions, never say you're wrong. Admit your own mistakes openly and quickly. Begin conversations in a friendly and warm way. Get early agreement by focusing on shared values or goals. Let others feel that the idea is theirs by guiding them gently. These principles create an atmosphere of respect and cooperation. They help you influence people without conflict or resentment. Try this today. Next time you disagree with someone, pause and think about their perspective. Express respect for their views, admit your own mistakes if any, and look for points of agreement. Notice how it changes the interaction. Remember, influence is not about forcing others but about guiding them with respect, empathy, and kindness. Part 7. Throughout this journey in how to win friends and influence people, we have explored the essential principles of building strong relationships, communicating effectively, and influencing others positively. In this final part, Dale Carnegie focuses on practical ways to become a leader who inspires and motivates others not through authority or force, but through understanding, encouragement, and respect. Leadership is not about commanding or controlling people. True leaders win loyalty and cooperation by making others feel valued and important. Carnegie emphasizes that the best leaders understand human nature deeply and apply the same principles we have learned: appreciation, empathy, and sincere interest in others. One of the most important leadership skills Carnegie highlights is giving honest and sincere praise. Good leaders notice the efforts and achievements of their team members and recognize them openly. This recognition boosts morale, builds confidence, and motivates people to keep performing at their best. Think of a coach who praises a player's effort after a tough game, regardless of the outcome. This encouragement helps the player improve and feel part of a supportive team. On the other hand, leaders who only criticize or ignore good work create fear and resentment. Carnegie shares stories of great leaders who made it a habit to find something good in every person they led. By focusing on strengths rather than weaknesses, these leaders inspired loyalty and excellence. Another vital leadership quality is giving constructive feedback without hurting pride. As we learned earlier, criticism should be handled delicately with praise, indirect suggestions, and encouragement. Leaders who master the skill help people grow without alienating them. Carnegie tells of a supervisor who would begin feedback sessions by acknowledging the employee's efforts and asking questions about how they could improve. This respectful approach made employees more willing to accept guidance. A powerful leadership tool is to ask questions rather than give orders. When leaders involve others in decision-making, they build a sense of ownership and responsibility. Asking, "What do you think is the best solution?" or "How would you approach this challenge?" encourages creativity and commitment. This approach also shows respect for people's intelligence and experience, which strengthens trust. Carnegie stresses the importance of letting people save face even when correcting mistakes. Leaders who shame or humiliate their team members lose respect and cooperation. Instead, they should be tactful and focus on positive outcomes. For example, if a project fails, a good leader might say, "What can we learn from this experience to do better next time?" This attitude fosters a culture of growth and continuous improvement. Another key to inspiring people is to give them a fine reputation to live up to. When you express confidence in someone's abilities and character, they strive to meet those expectations. For instance, telling a team member, "I know you are capable of handling this responsibility," challenges them to rise to the occasion. People want to be seen as competent and trustworthy, and when you highlight these qualities, they often deliver. Carnegie also encourages leaders to praise improvements sincerely and frequently. Even small steps forward deserve recognition. This positive reinforcement builds momentum and confidence. Moreover, great leaders know how to inspire enthusiasm by showing genuine excitement and belief in their team's goals. Enthusiasm is contagious. When a leader believes in a vision, others are more likely to join with energy and commitment. Finally, Carnegie reminds us that the best way to influence people is through kindness, respect, and genuine interest in their well-being. Leaders who remember that everyone wants to feel important and appreciated create environments where people thrive. To summarize the key leadership lessons from this part: give honest and sincere praise to motivate and build confidence. Offer constructive feedback tactfully and with encouragement. Ask questions to involve others and build ownership. Let people save face and focus on positive outcomes. Give others a fine reputation to live up to. Praise every improvement, no matter how small. Inspire enthusiasm through genuine belief and excitement. Lead with kindness, respect, and genuine interest in people. As you finish this audiobook, reflect on how you can apply these leadership principles in your own life. Whether at work, at home, or in your community, leading with empathy and respect creates lasting bonds and positive change. Remember the words of Dale Carnegie: success is not about titles or power but about how well you treat and understand people. When you win friends and influence others with kindness and sincerity, you open the door to endless opportunities and meaningful relationships. Thank you for joining Books Arena on this journey through how to win friends and influence people. May these timeless principles guide you to stronger friendships, better communication, and inspiring leadership. Thank you for listening to this audiobook from Books Arena. We hope these timeless lessons from How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie inspire you to build stronger relationships, communicate more effectively, and lead with kindness and respect. Remember, success in life often begins with how well you connect with others. By practicing appreciation, understanding, and genuine interest, you can influence people positively and create lasting friendships. If you found this audiobook helpful, please consider subscribing to Books Arena for more insightful book summaries and audiobooks. Your support means a lot to us and helps us bring you quality content. Until next time, keep growing, keep connecting, and keep winning friends in all areas of your life. Welcome to Books Arena. In this video, we dive into how to talk to anyone, 92 Little Tricks for Big Success in Relationships by Lyle Lowndes, a book full of simple, proven techniques to help you connect, converse, and build rapport in any situation. Ever felt nervous in a crowd? Struggled to find words with someone new? Or wondered how some people seem to navigate any conversation with confidence and ease? This book offers practical tools you can use right now. Whether it's making a memorable first impression, keeping small talk fresh, or steering conversations your way without sounding pushy, Lowndes guides you step by step. Each of the 92 tricks uses storytelling and real-life examples to make communication feel natural, not forced. From warming up your smile so it feels genuine, to crafting questions that let others talk about what lights them up, this book turns everyday conversations into moments of connection. Ready to stop being awkward and start being appreciated? Let's begin. Part 1, First Impressions and Confident Body Language. Picture this. You're walking into a room full of strangers. Maybe it's a networking event, a wedding, or even just your first day at a new job. Everyone seems to already know someone. Laughter here. Handshakes there. You feel like the outsider. What do? This is where Lyle Lowndes steps in. Her book How to Talk to Anyone begins with one simple idea. The first few seconds matter more than you think. The power of a first impression. According to Lowndes, people form lasting impressions in the first 7 seconds of meeting you. That's it? Just 7 seconds. And what do they base it on? Not your resume. Not your deep thoughts. Not your accomplishments. But your body language. Your posture. Your presence. Let's take an example. Meet Raj. He's smart, thoughtful, and kind. But in social settings, he often slouches, avoids eye contact, and fidgets with his phone. Despite his great personality, people see him as shy or uninterested. Then there's Zara. She walks into the same room with her shoulders back, chin up, and a warm smile. She doesn't speak right away, but people are already curious about her. Zara hasn't said a word. But the room is already listening. Trick 1, the flooding smile. Lowndes says the secret isn't just smiling, it's how you smile. Most people flash a quick, polite smile out of habit. But people who make lasting impressions use what she calls the flooding smile. Here's how it works. Don't smile immediately. First, look at the person for just a second. Then slowly let the smile spread across your face, as if they truly made your day. It's warm. It's genuine. It says, you matter. This small delay creates a powerful feeling, like the smile is just for them, not a general, automatic grin. Trick 2, sticky eyes. Next comes eye contact. Not the creepy kind. Lowndes says to maintain eye contact just a little longer than usual, especially after the person finishes speaking. This shows confidence, interest, and makes people feel heard. It's not about staring. It's about being present. Let's go back to Raj. Once he practiced holding eye contact for just 2 to 3 seconds longer than he was used to, people started describing him as attentive and engaging even though he hadn't changed what he said. Just how he looked at people while listening. Trick 3, epoxy eyes. This takes sticky eyes up a notch. When you're in a group and someone's telling a story, keep your eyes mainly on the person you're most interested in connecting with, even if others are talking. They'll feel a deeper connection to you, even if you haven't exchanged words yet. It's subtle, but powerful. Trick 4, don't be a big baby. Lowndes also talks about how posture reveals confidence. A lot of adults unconsciously move like toddlers in new settings, shuffling feet, fidgeting, keeping their hands near their face or pockets. To change that, imagine this: you are royalty. A king or queen walking into your court. You stand tall, walk slowly, and move with intention. No rushing. No nervous twitches. Just presence. Your posture tells the world you belong even before you speak. Trick 5, the hello that says everything. When greeting someone, whether it's hi, hello, or hey there, Lowndes recommends changing your tone based on who you're speaking to. With friends, warm and energetic. With professionals, calm and confident. It's a simple tweak, but it makes the other person feel you've matched their energy, and that builds trust immediately. Trick 6, use your hands, but carefully. Gestures can amplify what you're saying. But random fidgeting can send the opposite signal. So here's the trick: use open, relaxed hand movements when talking, especially when explaining something. Keep your hands visible. Palms up means openness. Tightly crossed arms. That's a red flag for distance or discomfort. Even if you don't speak, your body is already having a conversation. Make sure it says what you want it to say. Trick 7, the pause is powerful. Most people rush when nervous. But confidence lives in pauses. Take a moment before responding. Nod thoughtfully. Use short pauses between your points. It shows you're composed and helps your words carry more weight. Let's bring it all together with one final story. Imagine Zara again. She walks into a room full of unfamiliar faces. She pauses at the door. Straightens her shoulders. She walks in slowly, makes soft eye contact, and greets the host with a warm, delayed smile. She uses open hand gestures as she speaks. Her tone matches the room's energy. She listens. She holds her eye contact just a little longer when someone talks. In under 5 minutes, she becomes the most memorable person in the room. Not because of what she said but because of how she made others feel. That's the magic of Lyle Lowndes' first lessons. People listen before you speak, so make your entrance count. Smile like you mean it. Hold eye contact like you care. Stand like you belong. Because you do. Part 2, starting great conversations and keeping them going. Let's say you've made a great first impression. You walked in with confidence, smiled warmly, held good eye contact, and stood tall. Now comes the tricky part. What do you say? How do you start a conversation without sounding awkward or rehearsed? This is where many people freeze. But Lyle Lowndes breaks it down with practical, simple techniques that anyone can learn and apply even if you're shy or introverted. The icebreaker problem. Imagine this. You're standing next to someone at a party. You want to talk, but nothing comes to mind. You reach for the classic. So, what do? It's not terrible. But it often leads to dull, predictable replies. Lowndes offers a better approach. Instead of jumping into facts, start with what she calls the big baby words that focus on emotions, senses, or personal experiences. Why? Because people connect over feelings, not just facts. Trick 8, the what's your story? Starter. Let's say you're meeting someone new. Instead of asking, where are you from? Try. What's your story? This small shift opens the door for more than just geography. It lets them share anything: work, dreams, hobbies, family. It's casual, but surprisingly deep. Let's imagine a scene. You're at a cafe. You meet Priya, who just moved to the city. You ask, so what's your story? She laughs and says, well, I was a teacher in Delhi, then I moved here to start a baking business. Now you have multiple threads: teaching, moving, baking. Each one can lead to an engaging follow-up. That's the beauty of the what's your story opener. It invites conversation, not just a one-word answer. Trick 9, use the echo technique. One of the easiest and most powerful ways to keep a conversation going is to echo the last few words the other person said, but as a question. For example, they say, I just got back from a trip to Japan. You reply, a trip to Japan. They smile and begin describing sushi, temples, Tokyo streets. It works because it shows interest without having to think of something clever to say. People love to expand on things they brought up. You just have to invite them to do it. Trick 10, never ask boring questions. Lowndes warns against the usual small talk traps. What do? Where are you from? How's the weather? Instead, she recommends replacing them with curiosity-driven questions. Ask about their passions, challenges, or recent experiences. For instance, what's keeping you busy lately? Have you read or watched anything interesting this week? If you could instantly master a skill, what would it be? These kinds of questions surprise people in a good way, and they make you instantly more memorable. Trick 11, the latest news lifeline. Don't know what to talk about? Stay informed on just 1 or 2 interesting headlines before social events. It doesn't have to be serious news, it can be tech, sports, entertainment, or even a quirky story. This gives you an easy entry point into small talk. Imagine this. You walk up to a group chatting. Someone mentions AI. You add, did you hear about that new robot that can mimic emotions? Suddenly, you're part of the group. A little preparation goes a long way. Trick 12, Avoid me too syndrome. Here's a subtle mistake people make. Someone says, I love hiking. And you jump in, me too. I go every weekend. It seems friendly. But Lowndes explains if you do this too quickly, it shifts the spotlight back to you, which can cut off their story. Instead, let them talk more about their experience before you relate it to yours. For example, them, I love hiking. You, oh really? Where do you usually go? Only after they've had space to talk, you can say, that's awesome, I go to the trails near the lake sometimes. Now, it's a shared moment instead of a one-up. Trick 13, use the naked job title. If someone asks, what do you do, and you say, I'm an accountant, the conversation might end there. But Lowndes suggests using what she calls the naked job title trick. Instead of just naming your job, describe what your work really means. For example, instead of I'm a software developer, say, I help companies make apps that people actually want to use. Or instead of I'm a teacher, say, I help teenagers figure out what they're good at before they even realize it. This sparks interest and opens up natural questions. Let's recap with a story. You're at a dinner party. You meet someone new, let's call him Arjun. You shake hands and say, nice to meet you. So, what's your story? Arjun chuckles and says, well, I used to be a chef, but now I'm launching a food app. You echo, a food app. He lights up. Yeah, like helping people find street food anywhere. Later, someone else joins and asks what you do. Instead of saying, I'm a freelance designer, you say, I help small brands look big with clean visuals. By the end of the night, people remember you not because you were loud or flashy but because you made them feel seen, heard, and interested. That's what Lowndes wants us to learn. Part 3, Becoming a Better Listener and Reading People's Cues. So far, we've learned how to make powerful first impressions and start engaging conversations. But here's the secret most people miss. The best talkers aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who listen the best. Lyle Lowndes says, being a good listener is like being a human magnet. People feel drawn to you without knowing why. Let's explore how real, active listening can completely transform your social skills. The myth of listening. Most people think they're good listeners. But often, while someone else is talking, we're busy preparing our response. Or checking our phone. Or drifting into our own thoughts. That's not listening. That's waiting to talk. Real listening is about being fully present, not just hearing words, but picking up on tone, body language, and what's not being said. Story, the coffee shop test. Picture this. You're in a coffee shop, and the person across from you is talking about their recent job change. They say, yeah, I switched companies last month. It's been an adjustment. Now, most people would nod and move on. But a good listener would catch that pause. That hesitation. You lean in and ask gently, an adjustment? How so? That one question could open the door to a real conversation, one they'll remember. Why? Because they felt heard. Trick 14, the Hansel and Gretel technique. Lowndes introduces something she calls the Hansel and Gretel technique. Think of conversations like a trail of breadcrumbs. People drop little clues about what matters to them as they speak. Your job is to catch those clues and ask about them. Example. They say, I'm taking care of my mom lately, it's been tough. You could ask about their mom's health. Or what tough has looked like for them. It's not about being nosy, it's about being genuinely curious. This is how strangers become friends and how small talk turns into real talk. Trick 15, use the aha ladder. Active listening isn't just nodding. Lowndes suggests climbing the aha ladder, starting with simple acknowledgements and moving up in energy as the conversation deepens. Start with Really? No way, then what happened? That's amazing. These small responses show you're not just listening, you're feeling what they're saying. And it encourages them to open up more. Trick 16, watch their feet. Yes, really. Lowndes says the most honest part of the body isn't the face, it's the feet. Why? Because people control their facial expressions. But their feet? That's where true comfort or discomfort shows. If someone's feet are pointing toward you during a conversation, they're engaged. If one foot starts pointing away or toward the door, they might be trying to wrap it up. This tiny detail helps you read people better in real time. Trick 17, master the art of the pause. Silence can feel awkward, but it's also powerful. Lowndes recommends letting there be a short pause after someone finishes speaking. Don't rush to fill the silence. Often, people will say something deeper if you simply wait a second longer. It shows you're not just there to respond, you're there to understand. Trick 18, mirror their energy. Have you ever noticed how people who are close often start to act alike? That's called mirroring, and you can use it to build rapport instantly. If someone is calm and speaks slowly, mirror that calm tone. If they're enthusiastic and expressive, you can raise your energy a bit to meet theirs. It's not about faking it, it's about creating harmony. When you match someone's energy, they feel more connected to you without even realizing why. Trick 19, don't interrupt their story. This might seem obvious, but it's one of the most common mistakes. Someone starts telling a story and halfway through, we jump in with our own experience. Like this. Last month I went skydiving. Oh. I did that last year, it was wild. Now, their story gets pushed aside. Lowndes says, let them finish. Ask questions. Make it their moment. There will be time for your story, just not yet. Trick 20, give back their words. Here's a subtle but powerful trick. When someone shares something meaningful, repeat a keyword or phrase back to them later in the conversation. Example. They say, I've been feeling burned out lately. Later, you say, it sounds like that burnout's really been weighing on you. It shows them that what they said stuck with you. That you cared enough to remember. And that's rare. Final story, listening like no one else. Let's bring it together with one last story. At a dinner gathering, Mia was surrounded by loud personalities. People were laughing, debating, interrupting. But Mia? She stayed quiet. When someone spoke to her, she leaned in. She nodded, asked thoughtful follow-ups, and remembered details. By the end of the night, 5 different people had told her. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed talking to you. Not because she was the most charming. Not because she talked the most. But because she listened the best. And in a world full of noise, being truly heard is unforgettable. Part 4, making people instantly like you. We all know that likability is a mysterious thing. Some people just walk into a room and everyone gravitates toward them. Is it charm? Is it looks? Is it luck? Lyle Lowndes says it's none of those. It's skill. And it can be learned. In this part, we're going to uncover how to become that person, how to make people feel good the moment you enter a room, and how to become instantly likable in a natural, genuine way. Let's begin with a story. Story, the elevator encounter. Imagine this. You step into an elevator. A stranger is already inside. You nod politely and pull out your phone. That's what most people do. But what if you smiled and said, long day? The stranger chuckles and replies, tell me about it. I've been in meetings since 8 a.m. That tiny moment of connection turns the silence into something warm. That's the beginning of likability, acknowledging people and making them feel seen. Trick 21, the flooding smile. Lowndes shares a simple but powerful technique: don't flash your smile too quickly. When we meet someone, we often smile automatically. But if you delay your smile by just a second, then let it slowly spread, it feels more personal and sincere. Imagine someone looking at you, pausing for a moment, and then giving a soft, genuine smile as if it's just for you. That's the flooding smile. It tells the other person, I'm glad to see you. It creates warmth instantly and they won't forget it. Trick 22, sticky eyes. We tend to glance away during conversations, especially when we're nervous. But confident, likable people hold eye contact just a little longer. Lowndes calls this technique sticky eyes, like your eyes are gently sticking to theirs. Not in a creepy way, but in a way that shows full attention. And here's the bonus: when you finally do look away, do it slowly. That gentle break keeps the connection strong. Trick 23, pretend they're royalty. This one sounds funny, but it works like magic. When you meet someone, whether it's your boss, a client, a neighbor, imagine they're royalty. Why? Because when you mentally place someone in high regard, your body language changes naturally. You stand straighter. You give them your full attention. You speak with more warmth and care. People can sense that respect even if you never say it aloud. And guess what? We like people who like us. The more important you make them feel, the more likable you become. Trick 24, the exclusive smile. Here's another little known trick. When you're in a group, avoid doing a general group smile. Instead, focus your smile on one person at a time, even if you smile at everyone eventually. This creates the feeling that your smile was meant just for them. They'll remember it. It's subtle. But these are the moments that make someone think, I don't know why, but I really like them. Story, the airport lounge test. Let's say you're in an airport lounge waiting for your flight. You see a woman reading a book you love. You could ignore it, or say, that book changed how I think about success. She lights up. Me too. I'm halfway through and already rethinking everything. You ask about her favorite part. She shares a quote. You respond thoughtfully. No pressure. No showing off. Just curiosity and warmth. In just a few minutes, a stranger feels like a friend. Why? Because you noticed her. Because you made her feel interesting. And because your interest was genuine. That's likability in action. Trick 25, be a mood mirror. People naturally mirror each other emotionally. If someone's down, we might get quiet. If they're upbeat, we tend to smile more. But likable people do this on purpose. Lowndes suggests being a mood mirror, gently matching the emotional tone of the person you're with. If they're excited, show excitement. If they're serious, respond calmly. If they're confused, offer clarity. By syncing with their mood, you show emotional intelligence and make them feel instantly comfortable. Trick 26, give them a reputation to live up to. This one is subtle but incredibly effective. Let's say you're meeting someone shy at a networking event. After a few minutes of conversation, you say, you know, you strike me as someone who's really thoughtful. Now, what happens? They become more thoughtful. They try to live up to it. Lowndes calls this giving people a high-value label. It's like planting a seed. It makes people feel good and often, they try to prove you right. Final story, the warm host. At a small dinner party, everyone remembered Maya not because she was loud or told the best stories. But because when each guest arrived, she greeted them by name, smiled warmly, and asked one personal question. How's your new job going? Did your sister visit last weekend? Did you ever try that recipe you mentioned? These small touches made people feel remembered, valued, welcomed. By the end of the night, people said, Maya is just so easy to like. And that's the goal. Not to impress. Not to perform. Just to connect with care, presence, and genuine interest. Part 5, Handling Social Anxiety and Difficult Situations. Talking to people can be fun until it's not. You walk into a room and suddenly your throat feels tight. You want to speak, but your mind goes blank. Or someone makes a rude comment, and you just freeze. We've all been there. Lyle Lowndes doesn't just teach how to talk to anyone, she teaches how to keep talking when it gets hard. In this part, we explore how to handle social anxiety, bounce back from awkward moments, and deal with difficult people calmly, confidently, and with grace. Story, the Frozen Conference. Imagine this. Anna was invited to speak at her company's annual conference. Just a 5-minute introduction. But as she stepped up to the mic, something strange happened. Her voice shook. Her hands were cold. And her brain felt empty. She rushed through the words, barely breathing, and sat back down feeling embarrassed. Later, her boss said kindly, "Don't worry, everyone's been there. The truth is, even the most confident people feel nervous. The difference is, they've learned how to handle those nerves." Trick 27, the fight or flight flip. Lowndes explains that social anxiety is just your body's fight or flight system kicking in. Your brain thinks it's in danger. But you're not being chased by a tiger, you're about to speak at a meeting or meet someone new. So how do you flip it? Reframe it. Instead of telling yourself, "I'm scared," tell yourself, "I'm excited." This small mental shift turns panic into energy. Nervousness and excitement feel the same in the body: racing heart, butterflies, fast breathing. So relabel the feeling. Use it. Say, "I'm pumped for this. Let's go." Trick 28, the sneaky rehearsal. Let's say you're going to a party and you're dreading small talk. Here's what pros do: they prepare 3 talking points ahead of time. Think of a compliment: I love your outfit, where did you get it? A current event: did you hear about that mission to Mars? A personal story: I just tried cooking Thai food for the first time. This doesn't make you robotic, it gives you confidence. You won't be grasping for something to say. You'll already have ammo. And once you're in the flow, it becomes natural. Trick 29, the broken record calm. Sometimes, you face someone difficult. They interrupt. They criticize. They won't take no for an answer. Lowndes teaches the broken record technique. Stay calm. Keep repeating your point in a steady, polite voice. Example: them, come on, just stay a little longer. You, thanks, but I really have to go. Them, why? It's early. You, I know, but I really have to go. Them, you're no fun. You, smiles, maybe next time. I really have to go. No anger. No drama. Just your words, repeated. Like a broken record. It works surprisingly well and keeps your dignity intact. Story: the cool customer trick. Jake was once caught in an awkward silence on a date. Both of them stared at their drinks, unsure what to say. Instead of panicking, Jake smiled and said, "Okay, I have to admit I'm totally blanking right now." She laughed. "Me too. Let's hit reset." That honesty broke the tension. Lowndes says this is key: don't fear the awkward moment. Own it. If your mind goes blank, or you say the wrong thing, smile. Breathe. Move on. People don't remember perfection. They remember how you made them feel. And being real makes them feel safe. Trick 30, give yourself permission to pause. You don't have to respond instantly. In fact, taking a pause makes you look more thoughtful and confident. When someone asks a question, don't rush. Smile. Nod. Think. Say, that's a good question, and give yourself a beat. It shows maturity. It gives your brain time. And it slows the pace, so everyone feels more relaxed. Trick 31, anchor yourself. If you feel overwhelmed in a crowd, pick a physical anchor. Hold a glass. Keep a thumb in your pocket. Touch your bracelet. This small physical action gives you control. It brings your focus back to your body and away from racing thoughts. Lowndes says even professional speakers use this. They might hold a pen or place one hand on a lectern. Anchors are your secret weapon against spiraling nerves. Trick 32, praise in public. Let's talk about dealing with tough personalities, especially people who make you feel small. Lowndes has a surprising suggestion: catch them doing something right and praise them. In public. Example: a difficult coworker who usually challenges your ideas suddenly says something helpful in a meeting. You say, "I really liked your point about simplifying the process, that's smart." That public recognition disarms them. It flips the power dynamic. And it often turns adversaries into allies. Story: the invisible power of grace. Sarah had always avoided speaking up at family gatherings. Her uncle was loud and sarcastic. He loved to tease her. One day, during a heated dinner debate, she looked him in the eye and said calmly, "That's a fair point. I hadn't thought of it that way." He blinked. Then smiled. "Thanks. I didn't think you were even listening." That was the moment Sarah stopped hiding. Because real confidence isn't about being loud. It's about being calm under pressure. About speaking with warmth even when you're nervous. About staying true to yourself even in chaos. Part 6, winning hearts in business, networking, and public speaking. Let's step into the world of handshakes, networking events, office meetings, and public speeches. Sounds intimidating? It doesn't have to be. Whether you're walking into a business meeting or standing in front of a crowd, your ability to connect with people determines everything: how much trust you build, how much influence you have, and ultimately, how successful you become. In this part, we explore how to be charismatic and confident in professional settings without being fake or trying too hard. Story: the elevator pitch that wasn't. Lucas was an intern at a big company. One day, he stepped into the elevator and found himself face to face with the CEO. Panic. Should he say something? Stay silent. He blurted out, "Hi, I'm Lucas. I work in marketing. The CEO smiled. What are you working on these days? Lucas froze. Then remembered something Lyle Lowndes said in her book. Instead of reciting his resume, he said, "We're trying a new idea to increase engagement. It's early, but it might double our online leads." Simple. Direct. Confident. By the time the elevator stopped, the CEO said, "Interesting. Let's talk more sometime." That's how you win in business. By being real and ready. Trick 33, the Hansel and Gretel strategy. Lowndes calls this the Hansel and Gretel trick. In conversation, especially in business, leave little breadcrumbs about your interests, passions, and goals. Instead of dumping your whole story, sprinkle in hints. Example. Rather than saying, "I run my own business," say, "I was up early working on a launch. It's a bit stressful, but exciting." If the person is curious, they'll follow the breadcrumb. It creates a pull, not a push. It makes you more interesting without sounding like you're trying to impress. Trick 34, never the naked thank you. Let's say someone helps you at work. Don't just say, "Thanks." Instead, say, "Thank you for staying late. I know you had a full day. That really helped the project." Why? Because details add depth. Lowndes says naked thank yous are forgettable. But when you add a specific reason, the person feels truly seen and appreciated. And in business, making others feel valued is pure gold. Trick 35, echoing for connection. During a meeting or networking event, echoing someone's keywords shows you're listening and builds rapport fast. Let's say someone says, "I've been struggling to balance remote work and homeschooling." You reply, "That balance can be tough. Have you found anything that helps?" Just repeating the word balance makes them feel heard. This tiny technique makes your conversation smoother and your connections deeper. Story, the business card surprise. Maya attended a startup event where everyone exchanged business cards. But instead of just handing hers over, she wrote a short note on the back. "Great chat about AI tools. Let's explore a collab." The next day, her inbox had 3 replies. Lowndes teaches, personal touches stand out. Whether it's writing on a card, mentioning a shared story, or following up with a thoughtful message, it's these extras that turn contacts into relationships. Trick 36, don't just speak. Pause. You're in a meeting. You've got a good point. So you say it fast, trying not to waste time. But the most powerful speakers, they speak, and pause. They let their words land. Lowndes points out that confident communicators don't rush. They let silence do some of the talking. A pause after a key point makes people reflect. It gives weight to your message. Try it in your next pitch, speech, or presentation and notice the difference. Trick 37, play the tombstone game. Here's a question Lowndes suggests for business networking that sparks deep, meaningful conversations. If you could write anything on your tombstone, one sentence, what would it be? This sounds dramatic, but it cuts past small talk. You learn what drives people, what they value, what they hope to leave behind. In return, you get remembered not as another handshaker, but as someone who really talked. Trick 38, always be the first to say hello. It sounds basic, but it's powerful. The moment you enter a meeting, a seminar, or a lunchroom, be the first to greet someone. You don't have to be loud or overconfident. Just a simple, "Hi, I don't think we've met yet, I'm Ravi," can open countless doors. In professional settings, initiative is influence. People like those who make the first move. It puts others at ease and shows leadership, even in small interactions. Story, the public speaker who didn't perform. Raj was terrified of giving presentations. So he practiced endlessly. Memorized every line. But his first few talks still felt stiff, like he was performing, not connecting. One day, he changed his approach. Instead of trying to present, he spoke like he was telling a story to a friend. He slowed down, made eye contact, even laughed at his own mistake. Afterward, someone said, "That was the most relatable talk I've heard." Lowndes reminds us, people don't want perfect. They want real. Whether you're pitching a project, chatting at a conference, or introducing yourself to a new team, the real secret is this. Be curious, not clever. Be warm, not polished. Be human, not a robot trying to impress. That's how you talk to anyone, even in business. So, what have we learned? From the moment you walk into a room, to the way you smile, make eye contact, and carry yourself, to how you spark conversations and make others feel truly seen. It all matters. Lyle Lowndes reminds us that people don't just remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And with just a few intentional changes like a warmer smile, steadier eye contact, and confident posture, you can go from being unnoticed to unforgettable. But remember, these aren't tricks in the sneaky sense. They're tools to help you unlock the connection that's already possible. Because the truth is, you already have something valuable to offer. Whether you're networking, dating, making friends, or simply trying to feel more comfortable in your own skin, this book gives you the blueprint. Now, it's your turn. Try one of the 92 techniques today. Just one. Notice how it changes the way people respond to you and how you feel in return. Want to see more book breakdowns like this? Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Which trick will you try first? Thanks for watching Books Arena, where great books meet real-life transformation. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep connecting.